game number 3. Starting us out in the bottom right hand side as our blue Protoss player. Currently playing for Team Fnatic. It is NightEnd. Let me just fix up that overlay. Oh, XSplit. Let's try not to be too stupid. There we go. Alright. And over in the bottom left hand side is our pink Protoss, currently playing for Team Puppeteer. It is RunA. So, of course, big shout out to Dreamhack and their sponsors. We've got, of course, there is Kingston HyperX, there's Logitech, there's ISO, there's also Twitch TV. So big thanks to all the sponsors who have been helping out with the event. And we all know without sponsors, you don't have an event. Because not everyone has $1 bajillion to pay for an event. So it is always good to have some sponsors. So make sure you can thank the sponsors on Twitter and that kind of stuff. And thank you all for tuning into the stream. So I think we can see a couple of people are supporting NightEnd and a couple are supporting RunA. Post in the chat, guys. I do love to see people talking. Makes me save a bit of time. Well, sorry, it saves me a bit of time from ranting, because then I can talk about you guys, you awesome peeps in the chat. But well, we've got again a very similar build to the previous two games here from NightEnd, where we've gotten the gas out straight away, double gas coming out, and he's probably, well, we'll see how he goes, because back at home for RunA also has a double gas. Going to finish a tiny bit later, so he's gotten that second gas maybe at a 16 there, so just a slight amount of difference. Thank you, Probe. Thank you, Lockth. And, of course, BJ. So Cybercore is now on the way. As Zealot is coming out from RunA, so he's going to have just that extra little bit of ground presence. Interesting to see that NightEnd was a little bit slower behind on his. Of course, his Cybercore did start a tiny bit later because he got double gas very quickly. But we can see that NightEnd has gotten that the 2 probes inside the gas at the moment. And he's going to be, switching it up now, just up to 3. Double DT warp-ins would be nice to see. Interesting. Yeah, I would be happy to see some DTs. I do love a good DT myself. Similar for RunA down here with the double gas up and running. He's going to go for an expansion. Yet again, a very similar play to the one we saw in game number 1, where we had the Zealot, the Sentry, and then we'll see what unit he gets out next. It is going to be a Mothership Core. So just playing that safe sort of expansion style here. This is something which, for the guys who have played a lot of Wings of Liberty PvP, you try this build in Wings of Liberty, you are never going to win, because of course back in, and this is partly why, but back in Wings of Liberty, of course expansions were a lot more difficult to do because of the fact that you didn't have the Mothership Core, you didn't have the Nexus Overcharge, whatever it's called, Photon Overcharge. I keep forgetting the name of that thing. They should just rename it to the Killer Nexus or something like that. But anyway, very hard to do that thing in Wings of Liberty, but these days it can be a little bit more doable just because you do want to help out. But NightEnd is just going to go for some very, very simple 3-gate pressure. He's seen his opponent go for the fast expansion yet again from the previous game. He may know that there was only a few units out, and it looks like we will get that pressure now coming through. NightEnd getting ready with a proxy pylon to warp in some units. That is actually going to, his warp gate tech is going to activate in a second here, so NightEnd is really going to go hard at this pressure. Back at home, he does have a Twilight Council building, so he's going to go 3-gate pressure into some Blink Stalkers here, and yet again he's going to get a decent amount of damage done, but will it be enough? There are now 5 Stalkers at the back here for NightEnd. That is a lot to comprehend, especially when he got a Zealot tanking at the front, so nicely done by NightEnd there. In fact, he could just take the win right here, just because it is going to be a little bit of a struggle for wow. Is he just... yeah, he's just going to have a very hard time. So RunA's going to have a very hard time dealing with this. A couple of sentries warping in. He's going to try and block off the ramp, or at least block some of those Stalkers out. And a Nexus Overcharge does activate, but for how long will this be useful? That's a big question right now. Back at home, NightEnd going to get started with a... is he actually going to expand? Okay, he's going to expand. it was looking to be another Blink build, and I mean, when you've got a map like this where there is just so much space to blink into, it can be really hard to defend that kind of stuff. But it looks like we do have RunA defending this for the time being. There are a few stalkers out. It looks like NightEnd is just going to try and be very annoying at the front here while he gets his economy going back at home. RunA has been forced to make a lot of units. As we can see, the worker count is a little bit different. A lead of 6 workers right now. For some reason, the income tab isn't working. I don't know what's going on with that, but apparently both of these players aren't actually mining anything at all. We'll get a little bit of a battle. Nice force fields there from RunA. Takes out a couple of those stalkers and micros the zealots back. Very well done there by RunA, and it looks as if he is going to be secure for the time being, and we'll restart that pro production here down at the natural, maybe inside the main base as well. But for the moment, RunA doing a decent job holding his bases. This is something which RunA has been doing a pretty damn good job of for most of these games, is holding up that natural nexus after a pretty quick expand. But in the previous game, he was not able to. NightEnd going to transfer some probes across. He does have 33 probes in total to the 26 of RunA, and we'll see. We'll see how the economy differs here, because RunA had a much earlier nexus, but his probe count did fall behind because he interpreted this push from NightEnd as a very, very committed 3-gate or possibly even 4-gate push. So we'll see what happens. His probe slowly sneaking its way out, trying to see how far he can go, but actually gets caught out. Some of the units are a little bit further behind in the fog, and well, RunA doesn't know this, but he probably could just actually come through and stomp this. So it looks as if RunA's just going to play very carefully for the moment. I do like how careful both of these players have been. Another couple of really decent force fields there from NightEnd, but he has the power to blink inside the main. Blinking all the way up to the top. He's going to try and target down some of these buildings here. The Robo facility will be first on the menu for those stalkers, but the Photon Overcharge gets activated on the Nexus. The Robo facility will go down though. Very nicely done by NightEnd. Now he's going to get started with this attack. The 3 gates back at home going to get pumping away with their warp pins, I would assume. There's a couple of those stalkers just off to the side. These guys caught out in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And it looks like, well, RunA does have a pretty decent ground force at this point. He's got 11 stalkers, he's got 4 sentries and 6 zealots. Now, 6 zealots isn't actually like, in PvP, zealots aren't always a huge factor, but when you've got 6 or 7 of them and you're bringing them into fights to tank damage off stalkers, then they can actually really have a really good effect on your game. So we'll see how that factors in, because NightEnd, his economy lead has now ended. He's at 34 probes to the 38 of RunA, blinking away quite nicely there from NightEnd. And RunA's going to march back across the map. This is very similar to game number 1, where we saw both of these players just doing very similar sorts of builds, but it looks like in this game, RunA is actually going to push back across, trying to threaten his opponent, but I would assume that RunA, being a very passive player so far in these games, is just going to sit back for the moment. May want to leave a Zealot here on the Zelnaga Watchtower, but says no. Blink now being researched by RunA. +1 to weapons also on the way. Again, very, very similar to the previous game from the Swedish Protoss, but for NightEnd, going to stay similar to his own roots in game number 1. He's just going to continue on with his Blink Stalker pressure. Is doing a pretty decent job avoiding quite a lot of that damage there. And as we can see, NightEnd just going back and forth with the attacks here, just trying to keep his opponent on the back foot while he builds up his economy yet again. But the one worrisome thing is that NightEnd has gone for 5 gates, so he may be able to bring in just a never-ending amount of stalkers right here. And NightEnd is going to continue to push through. Looks like we'll bring one of those hurt stalkers back, a couple of force fields there, bringing the stalkers into range of the units, but NightEnd is getting out of there relatively unharmed for the most part. Worker lead now sitting at 51. Oh, sorry, worker count, is sitting at 51 for RunA. So RunA has a very good economy behind all of this. He's currently sitting at 116 supply. Both players are actually supply blocked right now, and wow, NightEnd is not actually building a pylon right now, so he's just going to rely on unit deaths right now to unblock himself. So As you can see, an Immortal is now going to be factored in. Blink is about to be activated, and RunA could probably counter-push right now. I would love to see a counter-push from RunA. It looks like he's just going to have a little bit of a fight down here at the natural. A pretty damn decent concave from NightEnd there, and with the constant blink backs, he is really making good work of his Stalkers. And as we can see, both these players continually blinking. And yeah, the income is actually 0. It's some sort of bug with the map. Someone was just asking in chat. Yeah, both these players just continuing on with their harassment. What is this observer doing? He's looking for another base up here, probably wondering, how is your economy? Still looking pretty decent right now. But NightEnd, he's doing a decent job. Double Robo back at home all the way. I don't know, I'd really like to see the Mothership Core come out to help out with these Blink Stalkers. It gives NightEnd a little bit of vision and also the ability to recall back home if he needs to. But he's just sort of continuing on with these attacks. The Stalker count sitting at 34 for RunA. 1 Immortal in there, of course. 27 Stalkers for NightEnd. So NightEnd is really starting to feel the heat now. His opponent's economy has started to kick in, and we'll just get continuous production coming out of RunA at this point. He has 7 gates back at home, looking pretty decent in the gateway count. He's got this +1 on the weapons, +2 being researched right now, and I really like the position RunA's in. Yeah, catching up with some of the Stalkers, blinking on top, doing a really good job at at blasting apart some of these Stalkers. There you go. A little bit of tag between these two players. RunA constantly chasing after these Stalkers. I would really like to see this Immortal actually come down here, just sort of prepare himself for the inevitable attack. We've also got another one out there as well. Another pylon across at this side would be good as well. But the Stalkers constantly battling back and forth. Very clever movements from NightEnd. But I mean, his Stalker count is continually just lowering compared to where RunA is right now. So NightEnd trying to bring in a couple of Immortals, double Immortal at a time here. Nice decision from him. He is going to have that that power punch ability of these Immortals, but RunA is about to move in with +2 timing. This is going to look very, very good for RunA right now, and it looks like they're about to have another micro battle. An Immortal just near the front there for RunA. That is a really helpful sight to see, but I think he needs to go in right now just to try and attack into this, trying to get the best concave possible, and the players are just battling. And it looks like we're going to get a continue. It's like a mob of people trying to get a signature from someone famous, just pushing forwards and then running away very quickly. But probes now coming out. NightEnd has decided it's time to sacrifice the probes. He knows he's in a bit of a difficult position right now, and the Stalkers of NightEnd have all but depleted. And despite the double robo, NightEnd not able to save himself here in game number 3.